Hi, Serena. It's August 8th, 2006. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Serena. Happy birthday to you. Serena's 3 today. Yay! How does Mama love you?
This much.
Oh, I love you more than that. Recording this because Leo and I are being happy. Everything is gone. First met you when I was, 21, 22. I should have ran away from you far then. At least the girls and I will be together in heaven, protected and safe from you. You can't hurt us, you can't torture us, you can't bother me anymore, you can't sit there and control me. And then after that there was somebody in the kitchen, and then I don't know if there was a third one behind him in the bedroom or not, and she kept telling me to stay focused and look at her because she needed to tell me things.
Okay. Did she spend a lot of time with you?
Well, she was trying. I was busy looking at everybody else.
Okay. And so at what point did you understand that you were charged with murder?
She didn't say I was charged with murder. She said I was being charged.
You were being charged, okay. Did anyone at some point in time tell you that you were being charged with that?
No.
Okay.
Until now.
Until now?
Yes.
Okay, what about when you came into the station?
Now. In the station now.
When you first came into the police station? Do you recall that?
No, he was writing down my birth date and stuff, and she was there, and another man was with her.
Okay. Okay, so you understand that you've been charged with, now you understand that you've been charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder?
Yes, I
Okay.
understand what you're saying.
And the charges are for murder in regards to both of your children. Okay.
On October 4th, 2006, officers from the Barrie Police Service responded to a phone call from a woman reporting that something bad had happened to her children. When they arrived at Coulter Glen Apartments, the apartment was quiet. In the bedroom, the officers made a discovery that would launch one of the most haunting investigations in Canadian history. This is the story of the Elaine Campione case. On October 4th, 2006, at approximately 9 a.m., officers from the Barrie Police Service received a phone call from Elaine Campione, reporting that something had happened to her children. Elaine's tone was calm and detached. She informed the dispatcher that her 2 daughters, Serena, 3 years old, and Sophia, 19 months old, were dead. Officers arrived at Coulter Glen Apartments within minutes. The scene inside the apartment was disturbingly quiet. The air was cold, with a fan running on high in the bedroom. There were no signs of a struggle or forced entry. As officers entered the master bedroom, they made a disturbing discovery. Serena and Sophia were lying on the bed, dressed in matching pajamas. Their hands were gently clasped together, and a rosary and family photo album were placed between them. Both girls appeared peaceful, as though they had been carefully positioned. However, they weren't alive. The officers quickly realized that the bodies had been there for some time. The smell of decomposition was noticeable, and the room had been deliberately kept cold to slow the process. Detectives from the Barrie Police and forensic specialists were immediately called to the scene to secure evidence and determine what had happened. The children's bodies were taken right away for an autopsy, which would later confirm the cause of death: drowning. Preliminary findings suggested that the girls had died approximately 48 hours before they were discovered, meaning they had likely been killed on October 2nd, 2006. Elaine Campione, who was waiting for the officers in the apartment, was taken into custody for questioning. She did not resist her arrest. Elaine Campione was born and raised in Coles Island, New Brunswick, a small rural community. She lived there until her early 20s, when she moved to Ontario for work. Described by those who knew her as quiet and reserved, Elaine attended community college for a year, where she completed courses in home support services. In Ontario, Elaine worked as a nanny and held several other jobs. She eventually settled in Bradford, Ontario, where her life would take a significant turn. Elaine met Leo Campione in 2000. Their relationship moved quickly, leading to marriage and the birth of 2 daughters, Serena in 2003 and Sophia in 2005. The family lived in Bradford, and outwardly, they appeared to have a normal family life. However, beneath the surface, their marriage was troubled. Elaine later alleged that Leo was physically and emotionally abusive. In 2005, Leo was arrested and charged with 4 counts of assault, 1 count of assault causing bodily harm, and 1 count of uttering threats. These charges came from incidents involving both Elaine and their eldest daughter, Serena. Following Leo's arrest, the couple separated. Leo moved out of the family home, leaving Elaine as the primary caregiver for the children. In the months that followed, the situation grew increasingly contentious. Leo desired increased custody of Serena and Sophia, citing concerns about their living conditions and Elaine's mental health. Elaine, in turn, accused Leo of manipulating the system and trying to portray her as mentally unfit. Court documents showed that Elaine had been struggling with significant mental health issues, including psychiatric hospitalizations and suicide attempts. In late September 2006, just days before the scheduled family court hearing, Leo formally requested that a children's lawyer be appointed to represent the best interests of the girls. He also sought more access to his daughters, claiming that Elaine was experiencing a mental health breakdown. After securing the scene, investigators began piecing together what had happened in Elaine Campione's apartment. The Barrie Police Service, working with forensic experts, documented every detail. There were no signs of a struggle, and the bedroom was neat and orderly. Serena and Sophia, dressed in matching pajamas, lay side by side on the bed with their hands gently clasped, a family photo album and rosary placed between them. The air was strangely cold, with a fan running on high, which had slowed decomposition. Detectives quickly determined that the bodies had been there for at least 48 hours. The initial investigation pointed to drowning as the cause of death. When the autopsy results came back, it confirmed what they suspected. Both girls had been held underwater in the bathtub. The coroner estimated the time of death to be around 8:45 p.m. to 9:15 p.m. on October 2nd, just minutes after the last known video of the girls was recorded.
Hey, Serena, who loves ya?
Mommy.
Who loves you the most? That much? Oh, I think I love you more than that.
There were no external injuries on their bodies, except for light markings on Sophia's forehead that matched the pattern of a bath mat, indicating she had been forcibly held down. A videotape, found inside a camcorder in the apartment, became the most critical piece of evidence. Investigators watched the footage in 2 parts, which provided both a heartbreaking glimpse into the children's final hours and chilling insight into Elaine's state of mind. In the first part, recorded earlier on October 2nd, Serena and Sophia could be seen playing on the living room floor. Serena was coloring, while Sophia toddled around happily beside her. They seemed carefree and full of life, completely unaware that these were their final moments. An hour later, the second part of the tape was recorded. This time, Elaine sat alone on the couch, speaking directly to the camera and addressing her estranged husband, Leo Campione. Her eyes were red from crying, but her tone was calm and cold. "Leo there, are you happy?" she said. "Everything's gone. God's taking care of them now."
Recording this because Leo there, are you happy? Everything's gone. You wouldn't give peace. You wouldn't tell the truth. I begged. You even had Stacy not believing me, telling her I had to sign papers when I didn't. I went to victim witness to get the truth. Trying, begging everyone the truth. How you beat me for 3 years behind closed doors.
Detectives recognized this as a crucial piece of evidence. It wasn't just an emotional message. It appeared to be carefully planned. The timing, her tone, and her choice of words led investigators to believe that the passing of the girls was calculated, meant as a revenge to Leo, her ex-husband, for wanting more custody and battling in court. Forensic experts examined the bathroom and bathtub where the drownings had taken place. They found water stains and patterns from the bath mat, matching the markings on Sophia's forehead. The experts determined that both girls had been drowned in quick succession, likely within 30 minutes of the last video recording of the girls. The autopsy findings confirmed the presence of water in their lungs, proving that both girls were alive when they were placed in the bathtub. There were no signs of external trauma beyond the marks on Sophia's forehead. The autopsy results, combined with the time of death and forensic evidence, painted a clear picture of what had happened in the apartment on the night of October 2nd, 2006. Following the discovery of the videotape, Elaine was taken to the Barrie Police Station for questioning. During her interview, she stayed vague and evasive as to what happened to her daughters.
I'm sure. These are my babies. I've been taking them to swimming lessons. I'm trying to teach them not to be scared of the water.
But you took this medication, right?
Yes.
And you said you wanted to end your life. You wanted to end it all.
I wouldn't kill my babies. My babies are my life.
I understand that.
It took time before she gradually admitted to drowning her daughters, but she framed it in terms of protecting them from future harm rather than as an actual admission of guilt. When asked why she had waited 2 days to call the police, she explained that she had spent the time thinking and praying, unsure of what to do next.
I came to bed around 9, 10 o'clock at night. Went to curl up with Sophia. I was going to bring in a bottle for her because it's usually her feeding time and she was cold. And the fan, I would leave a fan running. So I pulled up the covers on both of them. And I cuddle up both of them, and usually they turn and cuddle in with me. They weren't cuddling in with me. And Sophia had weird colored lips. And that's when I thought there was something wrong, and I looked at Sophia Serena, and she was looking weird too.
And what happened then?
And I assume that's when I called. I didn't know after. That's all I can remember is going in to cuddle in with them to get ready to go to sleep. And they weren't moving. They were just laying there. And usually they turned to me. And Sophia usually wraps her arm around this arm, and Serena reaches over both of us to cuddle in with both of us.
As detectives continued their investigation, they began uncovering clues about Elaine's mental state and her motive. Just days before the murders, Elaine was scheduled to appear in family court for a custody hearing. Her ex-husband, Leo, had filed concerns about her mental health and requested that a children's lawyer be appointed to represent Serena and Sophia. Leo's application argued that Elaine was experiencing a mental health crisis and that the children were living in unsafe conditions. Investigators believed that the upcoming court date may have triggered Elaine's actions. The Crown's theory was that she had killed her daughters to prevent Leo from gaining custody. Meanwhile, the defense later argued that Elaine's mental illness had clouded her judgment and made her incapable of understanding her actions. Despite the complex questions surrounding her mental state, investigators were confident about the sequence of events. The videotape, physical evidence, and Elaine's confession left no doubt about what had happened inside the apartment on October 2nd. However, what remained unclear was Elaine's state of mind at the time of the murders. That question would become the key focus of the trial that followed, one of the most emotional and controversial in Canadian legal history. The trial of Elaine Campione began in September 2010, nearly 4 years after the deaths of Serena and Sophia. For the next 7 weeks, the Ontario Superior Court of Justice would hear testimony from witnesses, forensic experts, psychiatrists, and family members as the prosecution and defense presented 2 very different explanations for what had happened on October 2nd, 2006. The trial was not about whether Elaine had killed her daughters. Both sides agreed on that. The central question was whether she could be held criminally responsible for her actions. The Crown's theory was that Elaine had carefully planned the murders to stop her ex-husband, Leo Campione, from gaining custody of the children. The prosecution argued that despite her struggles with mental illness, Elaine knew what she was doing was wrong. They pointed to the videotape recorded shortly after the murders as proof of her clear and deliberate intent. In the video, Elaine can be heard saying,
Recording this because Leo there. Are you happy? How much do you pretend not to drink or smoke dope? You take one good look at yourself, you will never change. You beat your wife to death and your children, and don't you ever, ever, ever forget it. And you know what? My family loves me more than the world itself, and they begged to have me come home.
The Crown's lead prosecutor, Enno Myers, described this message as calculated and premeditated, suggesting that Elaine had full control over her actions and wanted to punish Leo by taking away what he loved most, his daughters. Key evidence presented by the Crown, the videotape, shown in court multiple times. The prosecution emphasized Elaine's calm behavior and choice of words, arguing that it was not a spontaneous breakdown, but a deliberate message to her ex-husband. Forensic evidence. Autopsy findings confirmed that the children had been alive when they were placed in the bathtub and held underwater. The lack of physical injuries aside from the markings on Sophia's forehead was consistent with deliberate drowning. Timeline and actions. The fact that Elaine waited 2 days to call the police was presented as further evidence of premeditation. The prosecution argued that she had spent those 2 days thinking about what to do next, ultimately deciding to call the police when she realized she had no other option. Elaine's defense team, led by Mary Creamer, did not deny that she had killed her daughters. Instead, they argued that Elaine was not criminally responsible, NCR, due to her severe mental illness. The defense painted a picture of a woman who had suffered from years of psychiatric issues, including paranoia, delusions, and multiple suicide attempts.
They're getting ready to open their newest location coming soon to Huntsville. So that means the remodeling time at their Aurelia and Bracebridge stores. They are changing the displays. Now is the time to make a great deal on an Ontario-made hydro-cooled hot tub. In stock models, floor models, or custom orders, everything has a sale price. Pool Spa Sauna Showroom, making waves in Aurelia, Bracebridge, and soon to be in Huntsville. You can also check them out on the web at poolspasaunashowroom.com.
I'm here to throw some light on conserving energy. First, let's coordinate. These are seasonal LED lights. They use 98% less electricity than traditional lights, and last up to 100 times longer. They sparkle out of the competition business, and still have the chances to qualify.
And I don't get it.
Next
I
year's
really
stock
don't.
gas prices around 10
I'll take that I don't know.
pumpkin pies, pumpkin.
Elaine had been hospitalized several times in the months leading up to the murders, showing signs of psychosis and experiencing hallucinations. She believed that people were trying to steal her daughters and that her ex-husband was manipulating the legal system to take them away from her permanently. According to her lawyers, Elaine saw the drowning as a way to protect her children from what she believed was a fate worse than death. She had told doctors that she saw aliens, believed strangers were following her, and often spoke of a conspiracy to harm her and take her children. In the years leading up to the murders, Elaine had attempted suicide multiple times, showing clear signs of severe mental instability. Witnesses also testified about her strange actions, such as refusing to let her daughters touch anything red because she believed the color was dangerous. Several expert witnesses testified about Elaine's mental state. Dr. John McMaster, a psychiatrist for the defense, stated that Elaine was suffering from severe psychosis at the time of the murders and could not distinguish between right and wrong. He described her actions as being driven by delusional thinking, not conscious intent. The prosecution's expert, Dr. Richard Hucker, disagreed. He testified that while Elaine had a history of mental illness, she still knew what she was doing was morally wrong. He pointed to her calm confession to police and her ability to plan the murders, record a message, and dress the children afterward as evidence that she was in control of her actions. One of the most emotional moments of the trial came when the videotape was played for the jury. The courtroom was silent as the video showed Serena and Sophia playing just hours before their deaths.
What is it?
It's a bike.
What are you watching, you?
Sleeping Beauty.
Sleeping Beauty?
Many jurors appeared visibly shaken when the footage cut to Elaine's chilling message to Leo.
To always be your way. Well, they're good. And you can have it your way. Your wife and your daughters are dead now. We're all in heaven. And you can sit there and you can be happy. You can be some Mr. Gigolo going around doing whatever the hell you want. All I wanted was to go home with my little girls and heal from what you did to me.
Another powerful moment was Leo Campione's victim impact statement. Although he was not present in court, the statement was read aloud by the Crown. Leo described the lasting trauma of losing his daughters, saying, "The image of their last moments, innocent and helpless, will haunt me for the rest of my life." He also spoke about how the girls were his entire world, recalling how they used to run to greet him at the door, shouting, "Daddy, Daddy." After 7 weeks of testimony and nearly a week of deliberation, the jury returned with a verdict on November 15, 2010. They found Elaine Campione guilty of 2 counts of first-degree murder. The jury rejected the NCR defense, deciding that Elaine, despite her mental illness, knew what she was doing was morally wrong. The judge sentenced her to life in prison with no possibility of parole for 25 years, the mandatory sentence for first-degree murder in Canada. Elaine broke down in tears as the verdict was read. Her body shook uncontrollably, and she sobbed loudly when the judge confirmed her sentence. Following her conviction in 2010, Elaine Campione filed multiple appeals with the Ontario Court of Appeal, challenging the verdict. The primary argument from her legal team was that the trial judge had misdirected the jury on the meaning of moral wrongfulness, which was critical in determining whether she was not criminally responsible, NCR. The defense contended that the judge's explanation may have confused jurors and unfairly influenced their decision. In February 2015, the Ontario Court of Appeal dismissed her appeal. In their decision, the 3-judge panel rejected the argument that the jury instructions were flawed. They stated that the trial judge had provided clear and thorough explanations of the law, ensuring that jurors understood their role in deciding whether Elaine could be held criminally responsible. The court concluded that the jury's verdict should stand. The appeal dismissal meant that Elaine's sentence of life in prison, without the possibility of parole for 25 years, remained in place. In 2018, the Parole Board of Canada approved escorted absences for Elaine as part of her rehabilitation process. These absences were initially limited to 4 outings per year for personal development and religious services, always under the supervision of correctional officers. Over the next few years, Elaine continued to participate in rehabilitation programs and received regular psychiatric evaluations. In 2019, a psychiatric assessment determined that Elaine posed a low risk of violent reoffending, citing her compliance with institutional rules and her progress in treatment. In 2023, the Parole Board expanded her permissions, allowing her 6 escorted absences per year. The board stated that these outings were intended to support her continued reintegration and rehabilitation. However, they also imposed strict conditions, including a prohibition on being anywhere near the victim's family. Despite the board's assurances that Elaine was a low risk, the decision was met with strong opposition from Leo Campione and his family. In their written statements, the family expressed their trauma and deep loss, emphasizing that the pain of losing Serena and Sophia had not diminished over time. They voiced their firm opposition to any form of release, arguing that Elaine should never be reintegrated into the community. The parole board acknowledged the family's concerns but reiterated that the escorted absences were part of a controlled process to prepare Elaine for eventual reintegration when she becomes eligible for full parole after serving 25 years of her sentence. For their father, Leo Campione, and the rest of the family, the grief is something they continue to live with every day. Leo's victim impact statement spoke to the profound emptiness left in the wake of their deaths. Our time with them was cut short, our hearts broken, our lives shattered. The emptiness of losing Serena and Sofia is something we live with every day. In 2025, Elaine Campione, now known as Frances Goodine, remains incarcerated. Although she has been granted escorted absences as part of her rehabilitation, she is ineligible for full parole until she has served 25 years of her life sentence. Whether she will ever be fully reintegrated into society is a question that will be addressed in the coming years. May Serena and Sofia rest in peace. Thank you for watching until the end of this video. If you found this case interesting, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more true crime content. Stay safe, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.